Welcome to the Help Myself podcast. I am your host, John M. Singletary Sr. Got to keep that senior in there because I got my junior, aka LJ, my co-pilot. That's who I do it for. And as a matter of fact, I've been thinking about it, and I think that we are going to do a show dedicated to LJ eventually, not today. But eventually I want to do a show dedicated to LJ. We'll talk about his story a little bit and, our life together and, let him come on screen for a little bit for as long as he's willing to stay and let him talk about how he's feeling and share his day. So be looking forward to that. Put that on your calendars. We're going to do a special LJ show for all of my fans of the co-pilot. I'm definitely a fan of the co-pilot because he's changed my life. And I am thankful for all of you that take time from your busy schedules to listen to the Help Myself podcast in audio version, that take time out of your busy schedule to catch me as I stream live on Tuesday nights. Your support has been life-giving, overwhelming. I am so enthusiastically appreciative for everything that you do, every kind word, every way that you support me. And with all of that being said, I am going to humbly solicit that you continue to support the Help Myself podcast. Go out to the Help Myself podcast Instagram. It's at Help Myself podcast. Click that follow. Hit the like button if something resonates as far as content goes. Go out to the Help Myself podcast YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the like button, watch the videos, share them with your friends. I truly believe that here at the Help Myself podcast, we are providing high quality content that will have a positive impact on your life. And so I want to make sure that as many people as possible are able to have access to this content. I want to ensure that we're able to continue to bring you the highest quality content, and we'll continue to challenge ourselves so that we can make better content, that we can bring better information and more inspiration and encouragement so that you can be empowered to be the absolute best version of yourself. So again, thank you so much for your support. Go out to the YouTube. I got 57 subscribers so far, and I appreciate every last one of you. But go out there, tell your friends, go hit. All it is clicking the subscribe button, man. It don't cost you nothing. It don't even cost you that much of a time investment. It might take all of 10 seconds to locate and hit subscribe. So tell somebody you love to go check out the Help Myself podcast YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Like the videos. If you feel so inspired to do so, watch the videos, check it out. I've had some amazing interviews this season, and I plan to have some more. There's so many people that I am looking forward to getting an opportunity to bring on the show so that they can tell their amazing and inspirational stories so that myself and all of you can be inspired to continue to be the absolute best version of ourselves. So with that being said, I absolutely came to get on the mic and drop something good for your spirit. Listen, I was going through my Instagram feed and I saw a post that was referring to an older post. So as of this time, we are in the first 1.5, beginning of the second week in March, right? It's March 8th today. And as of February 5th, the book Will, the memoirs of Will Smith, it sold over 1 million copies. The release date was November 9th. And by February 5th, less than 3 months later, sold 1 million copies, which to me is incredible. Excited about that. Like, I think it's such a great thing. And that's something that needs to be celebrated. And I just looked at some of the things that he does and, some of the conversations that are swirling around him. And I thought about my own situation. I thought about things that I want to do. And I realized that the story of Will Smith has a lot of nuggets on making it in whatever it is that you're trying to do. It made me realize that the story of Will Smith really gives us some things to think about. Some things to think about. So, when you look at the story of Will Smith, the first thing you have to say is he's definitely not an overnight success. Like, when I look at his career, there are people who are whole adults in their 20s and even 30s that don't even realize that Will Smith was a real rapper back in the mid to late 80s. Like, not a movie star that said, I want to get into rap. He rapped. My man rapped, won a Grammy. Parents just don't understand. And I believe that was 1987. Like, was a real rapper. And even though his content wasn't as boastful or bravado, it was super clever. My man had bars. Like, listen, one of my favorites of his is still Girls of the World Ain't Nothing But Trouble. And man, what was the song, man? Funk, man. That's still I can't remember the name of the song, but that's still one of the most legendary bars in hip hop history. Like, he was a real rapper, y'all. For all of y'all folks that's 30 and under, Will Smith was a real rapper. Like, you tripping if you try to judge him by Miami and getting jiggy with it. No, he's a real rapper, man. Summertime is still a legendary classic in the neighborhood. But he wasn't an overnight success. I mean, when we think about some of the big movies he's done, The Pursuit of Happiness, Jaden is a whole grown man now. He was a little bitty boy in that movie. Like, that came out in 2006, 16 years ago. So he wasn't an overnight success. And you'll find out that a lot of times when you do something, it's going to take work. Now, let's not get it twisted. We see people all the time go viral and become famous over some foolishness. We see it all the time. Their names in my head, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to even add to their legend here in this space. But there are folks that went viral for doing something ill-advised or silly or whatever, and were able to be famous for a while and make good money. All of these things, right? Just doing something crazy. But the reality is, something that you should think about is that hard work is what gets you there, not overnight success. And I'll get into this later, but something that I do want you to think about is to keep the focus on what you are here to do. Now, obviously, Will Smith was a rapper, but he became one of the most celebrated actors of our time. I mean, obviously, he's not in that highest pantheon yet, but his body of work suggests that we should take a look at it because, you know, he's done some amazing things. But do you know how he really got into acting? So after he had released two hip hop albums, two highly acclaimed, well-selling albums, he got into trouble with the IRS, tax, old debts he couldn't pay. So he actually joined the cast of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to pay back some of those back taxes. You know, and it took him 3 years just to break even. You know, like, they were taking 70% of his income the first couple of years, and then he didn't break even until year number 3. And he made a hilarious quote about it. He said, "Hey, man," he said, "being a celebrity and being famous and being broke at the same time," he said, "it's the worst level of hell." He said, because people will recognize you and know you from somewhere, and then they'll come to that realization while they're sitting with you on the bus. Man, that's cold, but that's the reality of it. So he didn't get into acting because he had a love of acting. He wanted to be a rapper. He went out and he conquered that. He was successful. Him and his best friend DJ Jazzy Jeff, you know, they took the hip hop world by storm. They won a Grammy. You know, we just talked about that. Um, but then he got into acting. And by all accounts, and I think even when we look at some of the early episodes, we know it was more charisma and name recognition. He wasn't a powerful actor. Like we all think about the powerful scene, like men my age, all of us get emotional over the scene when he asked the question, you know, why his dad don't want him and all that, because that boy, he did that. But it took him some years to get there. And Will Smith made a decision, you know, that he wanted to really get good at his craft. The late James Avery would talk about how, you know, he would work with him, that he would get mentors, he would hire coaches to get better at acting. And I mean, some of how he gets in character to do his method acting, some of those stories are legendary. But the thing was, man, to get to where he is now, man, he had to make that focus singular. He decided, look, I mean, he made a couple of rap albums, but I think we can all agree that he became more dedicated to becoming a legendary actor than he was to becoming a huge rap star. And, you know, he used his current rap cachet to open up doors for him in acting, but he truly paid his dues. And when we look back, you know, we're talking about almost 30 years of acting. Well, I say almost, we almost there, you know, of acting and him putting in work to hone his craft. Now, what is that for us? Man, he could have decided that he wanted to do it all. But there was a point where he said, you know what, I have to cut away all of the excess and focus on that one thing. Now, I'm really passionate about the podcast, yes, but I'm passionate about the ability to transfer and communicate information that can improve people's lives. I'm really passionate about that. So, podcasting is a way to do that. Writing is a way to do that. Public speaking is a way to do that. And so I'm passionate about those things. But I promise you, the production aspect of doing this, the social media stuff, the marketing, the coming up with logos and ways to do this, that, and the other, I am not at all passionate about that. But I'm right now, you know, I'm a team of one, and I'm able to contract out other things that I can't do on a small level. But eventually I'm going to need a team, and I'm definitely going to need to contract out stuff that I can't do. Thank God for the internet and for all of these tools. But at some point, if the Help Myself podcast continues to be successful, I'm going to need someone to produce this. I'm going to need a studio to be able to go and do all of this in. But I don't have all of that right now. So what am I doing? I'm going to use what I got. I'm not going to worry about what I don't have. I'm not going to sit up here and cry over a studio that I don't have. I'm just going to keep pressing forward right now with what I do have. And there are people that see all the things that I'm doing and think, oh, you must be good at it. No, it's just necessary. I don't have somebody else right now that I trust enough to pay to do this, or can afford to pay them what they're worth to do it, or have a relationship where they're willing to accept what I'm able to pay. You know, all of that. But eventually I'm going to have to work to get to that point. And I'm in for the work. Listen, I'm focused on what it takes. I'm focused on doing what I need to do, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that I need to be able to strip away those things that take away from me doing the main thing. Whenever the admin part and the social media part and the technical part of what I'm doing becomes so burdensome that I no longer can effectively communicate what I am trying to communicate, to do what I'm trying to do, to have the impact that I desire to have, that means that it's time to start cutting stuff away, because you've got to focus on what you are here to do. I am not a technical genius, But here's the other part. I am not even passionate about it. I just look at a lot of stuff and I'll be like, I'm not going to let this beat me. I mean, I'm not going to even going to get into it. But for all of you that rock with me, you see some of the technical aspects that I struggle with. But I'm out here and I'm going to put my best foot forward, and we're going to continue to get better. Because when I look at where I started 3 years ago in the podcasting space, when I look at where I was 10 years ago in the social media space, when I look at where I was 25 years ago in the speaking space, I have improved by remaining consistent and focusing on what the important thing is, and that is, what am I specifically here to do? I will do everything that I need to do to get to the point that I can focus on what I'm here to do. And that's what you need to do. Focus on what's most important. And when you can't give it all just to what's most important, when you got to multitask to do things just to keep the ship going, never take your mind off of what the most important thing is. Don't fall in love so much. Like, I think eventually I'll get really good at running these boards and producing and doing these little videos and everything. But I don't want to get so caught up into that when that is not the ultimate plan. The ultimate plan is to be able to communicate in a way that is inspirational, motivational, and empowering, to give tools, tactics, and techniques so that people can be successful in their purpose and their desired thing that they want to do. That's the focus. So I focus my attention there. And the rest of this is just their tools to help me get to that point. So, you got to keep the focus on what you're here to do. Don't get distracted by trying to do everything. Focus on what's most important. Do the things that you need to do, but always have an exit strategy to get to the point where you can more and more focus on that. Listen, when you talk about huge shows and popular people, a lot of times they don't have nothing to do with, their name might be on the banner, but they don't have nothing to do with all of this other technical stuff. They just show up, do what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think you go to a concert and the headliner is worried about doing all of the lighting and all that? No, their job is to go and be the headliner, and that's what they do. And so that's what you need to understand, what your thing is, and work towards getting more and more focus and clarity on that thing, and contracting out all of the other stuff to a team. But here's the other thing. Consistency is the cheat code. Man, if we look back at Brother Will, I was kind of getting into this when we talk about an overnight success. His overnight success is years in the making. Like, I was actually shocked to think about the fact that The Pursuit of Happiness came out 16 years ago. Makes me feel kind of old. I mean, it came out a year after LJ was born. Oh my God, that boy will be 17 this year. Oh, where's the time going? But listen, consistency, that's the cheat code. I saw it was a clip, and it was talking about, how can I go from a 500 credit score to an 800 credit score in 30 days? And then they did a teaser like they were about to show you how, and then she came back and said, you can't. It's going to take consistent work, but it'll be worth it in the long run. And that success is going to take consistency. Listen, I remember when I made Chief, and there was people talking to me, oh, you made Chief already? Wow, you're a fast burner, or man, things must have shook right. And I'm not upset at them, because, they had been a little bit removed. Maybe they hadn't been doing it a while, hadn't seen me in a while. But I put on Chief right at the 20-year mark. So I was retirement eligible. I had done an entire career, 2 decades. I had been formed and fashioned in fire. I had went through investigations. I had went through heartbreak. I had went through personal trials and tragedy. I had went through trial and error in the school of leadership and supervisory skills. So when I got to be the big dog in my organization, it did not happen overnight. A lot of people didn't see it coming, but that ain't my business, that they didn't see it coming. No shade, but it was on me to make it happen. And that's what I want to tell you, consistency. So this right here is actually episode number 76 of the Help Myself podcast. And I remember Kev on stage talking about getting to 100 episodes. And I'm glad he said that, not because I'm going to make 100 episodes some kind of amazing benchmark, but because it made me realize, do you have what it takes to get up and put out a podcast and come up with ideas and do everything? And I look, here we are in March of 2022, when in March of 2020, I was using my iPhone. Now, I'm not gonna say I got a studio, but if y'all kind of saw the setup, man, I got stuff. We put in some capital into making this work, into making this better. And sometimes I get discouraged by the numbers, because I hear people saying, "Oh, I see you doing your thing on your podcast and you're doing this, and that." But the analytics, they don't show a lot of watches. They don't show a lot of people listening, this, that, and the other. But here's the thing. When I continue to create content and I say things that benefit someone and they become impassioned and they look at my track record, they'll be able to go back and they'll be able to see years of episodes over and over again where I've been consistent in my messaging, consistent in my desire to be positive, consistent to give you actionable tools and techniques to make your own lives better, talking about things that I'm passionate about, that I think that matter. This July, I do the for all of you that follow me on LinkedIn, on Facebook and Instagram, you see that I do the Monday morning mind hack. This July will be 3 straight years of doing a Monday morning mind hack every Monday without missing one Monday. Consistency. And someday somebody's going to look at that and be like, wow, this is amazing. They'll be like, yo, he just came up with this idea and ran with it. No, I didn't run with it. It's been a slow grind. But I'm passionate about what I do. And I believe in what I have to offer. And I believe in the people in whom I have it to offer to, that it will be something that they can add, something that all of you can add to your toolbox to be the absolute best version of yourself. I'm going to say that until I can't say it no more, but you got to be consistent. You've got to be consistent. And so Will Smith was consistent with doing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he was consistent. Man, there was a movie he did, 6 Degrees of Separation. 6 Degrees of Separation, man. And, people had a lot of opinions about that, but I love the risk that he took, man, like the dedication. And here we are, just dropped King Richard. I mean, highly acclaimed what he did in there. And we'll talk about, the dollars that was involved in it, but consistency is the key. He didn't just show up and get to be, the South African doctor in the movie about, concussions in football. He didn't just wake up one day and get to be Muhammad Ali. He didn't just wake up and get to do, the amazing movies that he's done. He put in his work. And if you look back, he's got a track record and a resume. And what do you see on that resume? He's been working. He's been consistent. And that's what I want to impress upon you, that the success may not come instantly, but it will come all of a sudden. Believe that. Now, here's one that's interesting, man. You got to respect the power of marketing. Man, there's a lot here. Let me go into this real quick. So we remember, it's been a while. We've been talking about it for so long. Will Smith has actually become a meme, for you can see the emotional response that he had when him and his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, were talking about her entanglement. And so he's become a meme. And we've had conversations about whether or not they should have aired that publicly, had that conversation in that forum. Should he have been vulnerable? I've heard all kinds of takes on it. And I don't know if I'm the only one. No, let me not say that. I know I'm not the only one. But here's what came to my mind, because when you put their family's net worth together, you're talking about a family at that time that was nearly worth $500 million. And when you're talking about that level of wealth, they're not just out there doing things to do things. Now, granted, it was something that happened, and it was something that I know that they got together and discussed whether or not they were comfortable sharing. But understand that there was some strategy involved in it. And let me tell you what I mean. During the pandemic, Will Smith didn't make any movies. Well, not during the height of it, when we were doing the height of the quarantining and the social distancing. But during that time, he still made, in 2020, he still made $45 million by being more present on social media, being present in spaces like the Red Table Talk and things like that. So he made $45 million. And then at the end of 2021, what happens? He drops King Richard. He drops his memoir, Will. And then Bel Air drops early 2022. So he had all of this cooking. And man, let me tell you something. The rights and his participation in Bel Air on the low end is going to net him tens of millions of dollars. The show is a smash. And, they're going to be able to make money hand over foot with that. King Richard, he got paid $40 million for that role. Now, he did some very charitable things with his castmates with his money. He didn't just hoard the money, but they paid him $40 million to play that role. And then his book, in less than 3 months, it's a New York Times bestseller and has sold over 1 million copies. I looked online. You can get a hardcover for just under $19. For some reason, the paperback is a little bit over $20. Let's just say he just gets $3 from every book sold. That's over $3 million. But not only this, it's his book. The rights to that book will be his for a lifetime. I have a book that I wrote 5 years ago. And one of my buddies just kept saying, you should just put it out there that you have a book. Like, you don't got to do nothing. Like, just let people know. I put out 2 or 3 posts last month, just kind of pointing people towards the book. On the 15th of this month, I'll be getting a royalty check from a book I wrote 5 years ago that I don't speak about enough. You see what I'm saying? Like, if every other day I mentioned the book and how you could go get it, that would be a stream of income. If I start taking that money and putting it into an actual marketing plan, it would become a permanent, consistent stream of income because it'll be popping up and people will be pointed to buy my book while I'm sleeping, while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And every month I would have a stream. Idea. So I said all of that to say, you've got to respect the power of marketing. Going back to the Red Table Talk, what Will Smith did, he got his name out there. They made an educated decision. They knew that that was salacious. They knew that people were going to feel some kind of way about it. Listen, man, real talk, do we still love Will Smith? Yes. Do we still love Jada? Mixed bag. I still respect both of their craft. I still think they're both amazing. And I think as a family, they're amazing. They do some things that I wouldn't do, but I ain't them. I ain't nowhere near worth $500 million as a family. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of my opinions, now I would probably say 100% of John Singletary's opinions have no bearing on how Will Smith and his family live their lives. Newsflash. Our strong opinions. I'm not going to even get into that. I'm making a point here. Some things to think about. Respect the power of marketing. Got their names out there. So whether you like it, love it, or hate it, when the book came out, there was curiosity because we already talking about it. he's already in the algorithm. So anything he does is carried and buoyed by the weight of the fact that we're already talking about it. When he's in a movie, hate it, love it, or like it, we're talking about Will Smith. So his name is buoyed by the fact that he's got our attention. I'm just thinking about the opportunities that are out there now, because everything I see on social media is about the gas prices. If there was a way to hack into that conversation and get your name flowing, you could probably make millions in the next couple of weeks, just because everybody's talking about the gas prices right now. That's the power of marketing. People can tell us how to feel about a situation by using the power of current events and folks talking, the power of marketing. No matter how we feel about how they handle their family affairs, over 1 million folks bought his book in less than 3 months. And that was a month ago. We probably well on the way to 2 million books now. I mean, I was just having a conversation with some of my brothers, and one of them posted a picture of the book and said, I'm reading this now. This is one of the best books I ever read. It's in the consciousness, opportunities that may not have been there. We might not have been thinking about getting a book about Will Smith if his name wasn't in the currency or the currents, but his name's in the currency now. See what I did there? The power of marketing. So what made me realize this, though, is that in the Air Force, obviously with recruiting, we have a marketing budget. It's a large marketing budget. Now, I've been in recruiting for many, many years, and I see the power of how we make ourselves appear to people who might be interested in joining the Air Force. We're not perfect, but y'all know how I feel about it. I love what it's done for me, but I can see where sometimes we polish edges to make it look a certain way. And, for us that are in, sometimes we have jokes about people's ideas of what it's like, but, we pay a heavy price in marketing. But as I've come up the ladder, I remember using specific local marketing to make myself look more ubiquitous than I actually was. I pulled that. Let me tell you a little story about ubiquitous. I heard Rudy Huxtable use that in an episode of The Cosby Show, and I had to know what ubiquitous meant. Universal. So now ubiquitous is one of my favorite words. That's just a little side note right there. But now, I'm using these marketing techniques and the marketing money that they gave me to make it seem like I was in more places than I actually was. I was covering 3 or 4 different bases, and I was going against teams of recruiters of 3 and 4, and I was winning consistently because of the power of marketing. I made people believe that I was more accessible than I actually was. And one guy actually came to my office and he said, look, sometimes you're hard to get in touch with, but everybody says that once you get in touch with Sergeant Singletary, it's like magic. It's the power of marketing. I was able to get my name out. But as I started running teams and I started tapping into the national marketing strategy and watching all the things that we do, we pay a good bit of money, not just to show our product and get customers in the door, but we use a lot of our strategy to influence how people who might be trusted agents in the life of our core demographic feel about our enterprise. Well, I'm spending money to make sure high school counselors and career advisors feel good about me and the Air Force so that they can send their students to me. This is somebody who's not going to be an actual customer, but they give me access to customers. And I'm spending money to someone who's a gatekeeper to give me access to the customer. So I was using marketing to make sure that my brand was on target, that what I stood for aligned with what they felt were important, so that I had access to a customer base. Like, do you see what I'm talking about? The power of marketing? I'll go a little bit deeper and then we'll just leave this alone. McDonald's. So we all know about, the woman that spilled the hot coffee in her lap, sued, got millions of dollars from McDonald's. Well, do you know the reason why we tell the story like that is because McDonald's went into a furious marketing campaign. Here are the actual facts from the case. That coffee was set so hot that when that woman dropped the coffee into her lap, it caused second-degree burns all through her thighs and on her private parts. And she had to have major surgery and miss plenty of time at work and sky high medical bills, right? So when she sued, she did not sue them for millions of dollars. She sued for loss of wages and to have her medical bills covered. When she won the case, the jury and the judge had seen, well, not the jury, but the judge had seen so many cases from McDonald's where, because of their negligence, people had been wounded. She's permanently wounded from that coffee. It wasn't just, oh, hot coffee, you messed up my favorite pants. Wounded permanently. And they had seen so many cases like that from McDonald's that they upped it to the maximum amount allowable to send McDonald's a message that they needed to get their act together. McDonald's knew that getting out into the realm of public opinion would hurt the brand. And so a marketing campaign to start the idea of frivolous lawsuits where people don't take personal responsibility for their own accidents was financed by McDonald's. And so now when we're telling the story of the lady that won millions of dollars from McDonald's, we make it seem like she just spilled a warm cup of coffee in her lap when that woman was wounded and never even asked for all of that. But because of marketing and to keep their brand on target and to protect their assets, they marketed public opinion that wouldn't directly impact, but would impact the brand name and how people saw McDonald's, so they would continue to spend money. So I say that to say this too. Your personal marketing, your personal brand, and the idea of investing in marketing when you're doing something in a space like this. On a personal level, whenever you are attempting to do something, it is important that you're authentic. Now, I'm not going to say that you need to be what everybody wants you to be, but consistently be who you are in all phases. Now, obviously, that looks different from phase to phase, but you've got to be authentic and consistently who you are. That is important, because if you brand yourself to be this person, and we've all seen the movies where there's some guy or gal, they're supposed to be motivational and inspirational, and then when you find out in their private life, they're a jerk and they treat people terrible. And we've seen that play out in real life. That's not just in movies and TV shows. If you are not authentically and consistently who you claim to be, you'll be found out. So that's your personal branding and marketing. But when you get in this space and you want to sell things, it is important to consider marketing. I talked about just doing a small bit of marketing by just mentioning to people who I'm connected to that I've written a book and that it is available for sale. And it had a direct impact on the bottom line for me. And looking at that makes me realize that if I got into more marketing, I've worked in marketing with the United States Air Force. I see the power of it. I just told you that I've seen the power. I have been in sales in the division of human capital for decades. And I'm telling you, I see the power of the marketing. So the power of marketing your brand, of your persona, and who you are. These are just some things to think about. This isn't an exhaustive list, but this is for all of my friends out there that are building a brand, building a product, working on entrepreneurship, working on a show, working on a talent, working on something that they want to share in the world. Keep your focus on what you're here to do. That's the most important thing. Don't get distracted by trying to do everything. Do that thing which you're here to do. And that could be several things, but make sure they are the thing and don't get distracted by all of the other things. And consistency is the cheat code. Years in the game. I didn't just show up yesterday. And who knows what tomorrow will have. But you got to keep pressing on. And man, you got to respect the power of marketing. Your personal brand and your global brand. Your character is important. And then your marketing has to be consistent with that character, because there are opportunities that'll be open to you based on what people believe. I told you, those gatekeepers, the power of marketing. Will Smith able to make hundreds of, probably it's going to end up being hundreds of millions of dollars, because he understands how to keep his name and his story and his evolution in a way that keeps us talking, but we still all have mad respect for who he is as a person, for his family unit, even though we may not agree with everything. It's the power of marketing. It's the power of consistency. It's the power of focus. And you can tap into that too. So, man, thank you for your time. Again, be on the lookout for that LJ show. You know, I got to kind of format that and see how I want to make that happen. But we'll be back next week with some exciting information, maybe an exciting guest. If we do have a guest, I promise they will be exciting. So, but do me that favor, go to the Help Myself Podcast YouTube page, click that subscribe button, go out to the social support, Instagram, Facebook, and thank you to all of you that have already supported, that are telling your friends and family, that you're sharing, that you're commenting. I appreciate you so much. And guess what? I do it for you. So we're going to keep rocking. We're going to keep on making it happen. We're going to keep on living the good life. And so I'm going to close like I always close. Listen, I can't help myself. I've got to inspire. I've got to encourage. I've got to empower. But I can help myself by being the absolute best version of myself. And guess what? You can too. So why not we do it together? You know I got to have you.